Ready to make a real impact every day? Join the Active Day Home Care team and help clients maintain their independence in the comfort of their own homes. Make a difference in someone's life as you provide essential daily assistance and protect their health and happiness. Earn up to $20 an hour and enjoy additional perks like optional daily pay, 401k, paid time off, ongoing educational training, and more. Join a team that values care, compassion, and your professional growth. Visit activeday.com to apply.
What the fuck?
What's wrong with you?
Do this enough to this.
Don't you even think
Do
about
not pass on this icon.
No, the defense is wrong.
No, the defense is wrong.
No, the defense is wrong.
And Joe Pesci, how do you know?
And she goes, I'm positive.
I'm positive.
Penelope Cruz?
Oh, my biological clock is ticking like this. And the way this case is going, I ain't never getting married. The deer with the little bill, bam! The bullet hit you in
Rosie
the
Perez?
head.
Oh my.
I almost respect you for
Bitch,
saying
who
her
is
name,
this?
though. In the bedroom nominee.
Laura Dern?
Oh, yeah, we get it, you're gay.
Seriously? You couldn't get Marisa Tomei, but you got Alicia Vikander?
Told you I didn't want to play.
That's actually the problem with Hollywood. It's people like you who forget about Marisa Tomei, but they remember Alicia Vikander.
I mean, she was really great in Ex Machina.
You need to stay out of this.
Yay! Hi, everybody. Welcome to Book versus Movie, the podcast where we read books that have been adapted into movies, and we try to decide which we like better, the book or the movie. I am Margot P. of ColoniaBook.com, and this is my good friend and co-host, Margot D. of Brooklyn Fit Chick.
Hi, everyone.
It is June. We're just going to forget about the news. We're just forgetting about the news, and we're going to enjoy Pride because it's Pride Month, and nothing's going to dim our joy of celebrating Pride. Today, we have a super fun movie. We're going to be talking about Fire Island, which is an adaptation of Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. Very excited to talk about the book and the movie. And before we get to that, though, if you're brand new, welcome. We were just saying before we got on the air, we need to make something very, very clear. It's just right off the bat. Look, you guys, it's a podcast. And we try to crank a new one out for you. We really do every single week. We do our best here. But we're neither one of us scholars of literature or film. And we are definitely not scholars of Miss Jane Austen or any of the people involved in
Or
today's
LGBTQ
movie.
history.
Or any of that. We're two heterosexual cis women.
Allies.
Allies, for sure. We're going to be out there marching. I got my rainbow wreath on my door right now. Love some Pride Month and really so happy to talk about this amazing movie. Legendary book, mythically, important author. But before we we have some ground rules after we've made that all really clear. Because I mean, don't be here like trying to do your book report on Pride and Prejudice. Is what we're saying. And we're going to get some terms wrong. I know we are. We're going to do that. So please give us a little bit of grace. If you have suggestions for upcoming episodes, film adaptations that you think we should cover, first of all, you should know we've been at this coming on 11 years, which means we've done a whole lot of books and movies. But it also means that we when we say book, we don't just mean an actual book.
Mhm.
We really will consider any movie that's been adapted from any kind of original source. And that might be a magazine article, a news piece. It might be, it could be fiction, nonfiction, short story, novella. It could be a poem, a play, a song.
Mhm.
As long as there's some kind of a literary source that this movie was inspired by and adapted into, we will consider it. So it's summertime. We start looking at blockbusters and things like that. And we've done some amazing blockbusters that were adapted from magazine articles and books and so on. We are still looking for ideas for this summer. So if you have ideas for upcoming episodes, please give them to us. We would love to hear them. There's a few places where you can make those suggestions and where you can also see some of our past catalog episodes that we've covered in the past you might be interested in, and meet other listeners and interact with us on the internet.
Exactly. So we do have a basic Facebook page. Be sure to like it. But Margot and I are much more interactive in our private Facebook group on Facebook. So you type in Book vs Movie Podcast Group and ask to join. We really do just talk about books and movies there, maybe a little pop culture, things like that. But that's where we go to hang out. And it's a nice, safe space on Facebook to hang out. So it's Book vs Movie Podcast there. On other social media, Threads, Instagram, Blue Sky, you spell out book versus and then movie. And you could follow us there. And then we have an old-timey email, bookversusmoviepodcast, spelled it all out at gmail.com. And I am looking to get more stickers. I normally say we have tons of stickers. We don't. You actually asked for all the stickers. So I'm going to be doing that. But still, please send us an email if you'd like some stickers and just give us your address. We'll drop them in the mail for you. But as Margot said, we're always looking for suggestions, and y'all give us the best ideas sometimes. Trust me.
Seriously, certainly the best episodes you've ever done have been suggested from our listeners. I also came across the other day, I'm in the process of, I took a couple of days off so I could paint my kitchen. I've been gradually painting the whole house, and it's not a big house, but it needs painting. And as I was kind of, when you're doing that, you have to organize and clean and stuff. And I came across I had some bookmarks.
Ooh, okay. Yes.
A little teeny stash of bookmarks. So I have those as well. Yeah, we just are so glad that you're here and hanging with us. It's a really nice group on Facebook. Again, terrific suggestions, just a fun group of people, a very nice little corner of a very yucky place.
Yes, and our super fan Thaddeus actually puts up 2 posts on there and keeps it going. Thank God for Thaddeus. So he puts a list there of the shows we've done in the past, and then a list of ideas people have for the future. Awesome.
Yeah.
So great place to check out.
If you want to support us further, or if you are looking for, again, we've been at this a long time. A lot of our older episodes, you're not going to be able to find on your Apple Podcasts or Spotify's, or they just don't, they're too old. So we have them available for you to check out. And also other little bonus material that you can see if you support us on Patreon.
Yes, Patreon. Look up Book versus Movie Podcast. We have about 8 years worth of shows there. We're taking everything from 2022 and then previous to that. But we also, the super old episodes, as we like to say, are free. And we also, all the clips you see today, if they get all jumbled up on YouTube, we post them there on Patreon for free. So you can sign up for free on Patreon. But if you do sign up and pay, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. We just use for the costs of the show to put together and the books and the movies. But yeah, that's a great place to check out as well. And people have been doing that, Margot. They've been signing up for free, but then just checking out like what we have going on. And then sometimes like, ooh, there's some good stuff here. I better put a few bucks into it. So thank you.
That's so nice. We really appreciate that. Yeah, go check out some of our older episodes on there. There's a lot.
We might redo one,
Oh my gosh. The other day I was looking over Thaddeus's list, and I don't know how he got, I just can't even say how grateful we are. There is a complete list of our previous episodes, things I completely forgot about. And things that maybe we should do a revisit, but we'll let you all decide. You can see the list there in the Facebook group, and you let us know if there's something that you'd like us to cover again. This is an author, so let's get into it. This is an author that we talked about before.
Yes.
But it's been a while. We talked about Miss Jane Austen when we talked about Clueless.
Right.
Which is based on Emma.
Yes.
But here's just to give you an idea. If you go to Wikipedia, okay, as we are wont to do around here, you go to Wikipedia and you simply type into the search box, Jane. The very first thing that comes up after the name Jane, which is a very, very common name, is Jane Austen. She is massively popular, still to this day, a best-selling author. Maybe born in the wrong time? I don't know. It's hard to say because she wrote about the time in which she lived. And somehow, just in a way that you and I have been very much in Austen land. Oh, and we talked about Austen land.
We talked about Austen land, yes.
which was a very fun movie.
That's on Patreon.
And, one of the things that's so wonderful about Jane Austen, and there were a lot of writers writing about this kind of society in Britain at the time that none of us have ever heard of. Their works just don't survive. They're too dated. They don't have just the sharpness, the wit, the really astute social lens that Jane Austen had. I mean, it blows my mind whenever I go back to her work. I cannot believe how it's so funny,
Mhm.
but the things that she points out in society that are still so relevant today. And there have been many adaptations, as I'm sure are aware, not only of her work in general, but specifically of this work that we're going to talk about today. But let's just kind of give some of the broad strokes about Jane Austen's life. And I want to recommend, again, we talked earlier this year when we did Mysteries in May, or last month. It
Was
just
it a month
seems like
ago?
6 months ago. It was last month. Last month, we spent the whole month talking about Agatha Christie. And I recommended Lucy Worsley's excellent biography of Agatha Christie, which again, I'm going to say is a must read. And that is called, it's called like Agatha Christie, an Elusive Woman. She also has a wonderful book on Jane Austen.
Oh, wow.
Lucy Worsley is one of my favorite historians, and it's called Jane Austen at Home, a biography, and it tells her story through all of the places that she lived throughout
Oh,
her life,
wow.
which is a really interesting way of looking at it, because one of the unusual things about Jane Austen is that with the ups and downs of her family and fortune,
Mhm.
she had to move around like a lot, like
Yes, she
more
did.
than most women her age would have done in her day. And so it's a great there's a documentary that goes with it. It's a great documentary, and the book I cannot recommend enough. The book is wonderful. It's Jane Austen at Home by Lucy Worsley. But again, let's just hit the broad strokes here. She's one of 8 children. Was it
Yes.
6?
Yeah, I think it's 6 children. I mean, I think she only had 1 brother and the rest were sisters. She had 2 brothers?
I think they're all boys and 2 girls.
Oh,
I
okay.
think she has one sister, Cassandra, and I think that's right. It's Cassandra, and then the rest are, yeah, Cassandra. Cassandra is her sister who survived her. And I think the rest of them are all brothers, right? James. Yes, that's correct.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah. James, Edward, Henry, Francis, Charles. And then the girls are Jane and Cassandra.
Wow. So at that time, you couldn't leave your family fortune to a woman unless she was married to somebody else. So in order to get by in this world, you had to be the daughter of somebody or married to somebody that could take care of you. And so this Jane and Cassandra was sort of like this fear that they had of like, what's going to happen to us if we don't find somebody? And it's one of the reasons why you had to find someone. I think also about Jane Austen is like, she speaks to us that, those of us that are, labeled picky or whatever, like we don't just pick and, we don't just go along with somebody just because they tell us they love us or they want to be with us. We kind of want our true soulmate or somebody who we really jive with. So Jane and Cassandra are very close. She's also close with her brothers, and she starts writing at a young age. Jane only lives to be 41, but she packed a lot of living into her life. She started writing stories when she was young, and at the time also is that women could not publish books. They would not label an author's name with a female name. And so it just said an author for Jane. And so she did see her first few books, and she wasn't published until she was 35. She started writing at 22, but she wasn't published until 35. She also had all those years to refine it and make it better and better and better. And because of the circumstances she was in. So those books were Sense and Sensibility, Pride and Prejudice, which comes out in 1813, Mansfield Park, and Emma. And they were modest successes. They did fine. I mean, they brought in some money when she needed it.
She had some success, But as you say, the books were popular, but nobody knew who wrote them.
Right. And
Her name was not on them while she was alive, is
right.
my understanding.
Right. And she made some money for it, but at the time also, so they go into a second publishing, which is great. But at that time, the way the deal was is if you did your unsold books, you had to buy them. So the publisher would put out 10,000 books, let's say, and you only sold 8,000. Well, you have to buy 2,000 back. And this ate up the savings that they had from it's ridiculous, like the hoops she had to jump through. But her first big fan turned out to be the future King George. And he wrote to her and said, you know what? I have your books in all of my homes. And I want to be, I want you to write another book and please, acknowledge me. And she did. And it was either Northanger Abbott, or it was one of the books that she did dedicate to him, but it still was by an author. I mean, we did not know her name until later.
No, not until much later. And she, interestingly, her father was a rector, which is that like a member of like a deacon kind of thing? I don't know. Growing up Catholic, I'm not really sure.
Same.
But she grew up in like I guess a rectory or a parsonage kind of an affair. And her father, I mean, considering that he had all these boys and only 2 girls, I believe he was quite encouraging of her writing and education and so on. And we forgot to mention that she's writing during Georgian and during the Georgian and Regency period, right before the Victorian era, in the UK. And so they're sort of middle class at a time when there really isn't a middle class.
Yeah. No, there's not.
There's very much
There's
the
just
haves
2.
and the have not. And I think it's her eldest brother, and you guys forgive me, I know there's Austen heads who are like screaming at us already. We're sorry. We're doing our best. She has an elder brother who is like adopted by a wealthy family, and then he kind of inherits their film. So he's very well off. Meanwhile, the rest of the family is really kind of struggling, and she all throughout her life kind of writes about having to economize, she makes her own ink, like
it's peripatetic, their life.
Yeah.
Like I guess when her father dies, it's very hard for her and her sister to kind of like make a living and keep, because one of her brothers that was supporting them lost his money. He lost his bank failed. So then she was living, they were living on the kindness of strangers. They were, basically we would call it couch surfing nowadays, but went from home to home to home until finally her other brother was able to buy them a house in Chowtham. I forget the name of the town. But she had her heart broken when she was young, and it was because her family didn't have the money and the person she loved. His family said, you can't marry her. She's not from the right people, not our kind, dear, I guess you would say. So she's somebody who, peripatetic, like, and also at one point, they grew up in Stevington, Hampshire, England, and then they went to Bath for a few years.
Yes.
And when they went to
lived in
Bath,
for a bit. Yeah.
she didn't write at all. She was terribly depressed. Either she was terribly, or maybe she was sick, but she didn't write at all.
She was also sick, yes, I believe at the time. Yeah.
Right. And eventually she does die, but it's in 1817, she's 41 years old. It could have been arsenic poisoning. It could have been Addison's disease. She was starting to lose her sight. It's very sad. I mean, her sister took care of her the last few months of her life, and there was just only so much they could do. It was now when she passed away, her sister burned about 1,000 letters that they had written back and forth. So we don't have all of the correspondence that she had with her close circle of people. So there are just certain things about Jane Austen we don't know. And that's also, I think, a part of her mystery. It's a part of her allure, is we kind of like want to fill in the gaps of who was this person who wrote these amazing things. Like, people are still discovering her reading now. And I mean, there's kids who like, this is on their syllabus and they're like, oh, it's an old book. And then they start reading and they're like, oh my God, this is amazing.
It's such a page turner.
It's
yeah.
a page turner, right? I remember reading Emma in high school and I was like, oh boy, what's this? And then
Same.
sobbing. Like, it's exceptional writing. She's an exceptionally interesting person. And she's putting a lot of what she knows about the world into this, and from a very strong female perspective, which is also unusual for the time, considering women couldn't be technically we're not allowed to be published authors. So this is the person we have. It came out in 1813. Let's talk about it.
Oh, okay. Pride and Prejudice.
Oh, that's
my
all.
goodness. That's just Pride and Prejudice. That's all. I don't even know where to begin. Let me just bring it up here on my
The Bennett family.
It's the Bennett family, and the Bennett family is something that's just part of our culture now. I mean, people talk all the time about Mrs. Bennett, and you say, "Oh, she's like a Lydia," and you immediately know what that means. That's a flighty, shallow kind of a person. Somebody who Mrs. Bennett is means well, but Mrs. Bennett. I was just listening to a podcast this morning as I was painting the kitchen, and the host was talking about how when she read, Pride and Prejudice as a young woman, of course you relate to the girls, you relate to Elizabeth and even like
Jane.
Lydia and you know that what they're like. And they're just like young women of any time.
Mm-hmm.
And Mrs. Bennett, from that perspective, when you're a young woman, you're like, oh, Mrs. Bennett is so meddly and so concerned with appearances and so out to lunch and clueless.
A busybody.
A busybody, but also like not really understanding what's going on. And now, like she said, now that I read it as an adult and I look at like all these children that she had and everything like Mrs. Bennett is doing her best.
She is absolutely. She's in perimenopause. She's yeah. She's got a lot. I forgot to mention, I also read this in high school because I was in our senior play. I played one of the Bennett daughters.
Oh,
I
played one of the Bennett girls.
Mary, the goofy one, which my English teacher was very insulted on my behalf. I thought it was fine. I didn't care. But he's like, no, you should be Jane.
I love Mary.
I think Mary's a hoot. I'm totally fine with it. But yeah, so we have this family and very loving family. And the two main daughters that we talk about the most are Jane and Elizabeth. So Jane's the oldest.
The two eldest daughters.
The two oldest daughters, right?
Most marriageable of the two daughters. They're like TikTok girls.
Yeah.
Time's a wasting.
Yeah. There's an hourglass. And Jane is very pretty, very shy. Very and she's
sweet. She's
sweet.
Just like there's nothing bad about Jane. She's
sensitive
perfect.
Though. She's rather sensitive. Elizabeth is smart and a little more ornery, and she has some standards. She has boundaries. She calls out stuff when she sees it. And so and then they
let's talk about the other girls. So we
please.
We have Mary, as you said. Mary's kind of goofy. She's awkward. She's at an awkward age. You have Kitty. Kitty also is a little bit what's the word I'm looking for? Kitty and Lydia, who are they're just like you have this kind of pairing of Jane and Elizabeth, the two eldest. They're very close. Jane and Elizabeth are super tight. That they have each other. They have a extremely close relationship. The two youngest, Lydia and Kitty, similarly, they're kind of always together, always getting up to hijinks together. And then you've got Mary, again, the awkward one, who's in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
She's the middle child. And then Lydia is, as we said, frivolous, flighty, shallow. She sees her older sister's like dressing up and going to parties and she knows like if she were doing that, she would have landed a husband by now because, she already knows everything. And anyway, then we have the parents, Mr. and Mrs. Bennett. Mrs. Bennett, as we said, is a bit of a busybody, very pushy. Like all the other adults in the novel have something to say about Mrs. Bennett and her pushiness. She's very, very pushy. And then Mr. Bennett, who is kind of henpecked,
Outnumbered.
Loves his, yes, very much outnumbered. Just he's not even picking his battles anymore. He's kind of checked out. And just like Jane Austen's family, when her father's still alive, they're kind of struggling. They're sort of middle class in a society that doesn't really have a middle class. And so they're neither from one party, they're neither rich, nor are they exactly poor. But compared to the rich people, they're considered poor.
Mm-hmm. And to the poor people, they're actually doing pretty well.
Yeah, they have a servant or two, right?
Mm-hmm.
They have some help. The girls aren't like milking cows or anything. Oh, there's this account of again, Jane Austen, like the amount of ups and downs that her family experienced in her very short life. There's an account where they have a little bit of a little bit of livestock. One of the places where they're living, and she writes kind of in the household accounts like, "Oh, we got a milkmaid. Oh, I'm so relieved we got a milkmaid," which suggests that Jane Austen was milking the cows, tending to the livestock herself. So they're not necessarily doing that. And they're high enough in society and esteemed enough, just enough, to be invited to parties, society parties, to be invited among society people. And the elder daughters are at that age where they should be getting married off. But part of marriage in that society, marriages were very much kind of arranged.
Mm-hmm.
You were lucky if you loved each other or liked each other, but that wasn't always a guarantee. It was more about the security of it. And the woman's family was also expected to bring, it was a joining of fortunes of property and so on, and woman being part of that. And so the woman was supposed to be bringing something to the transaction. These girls don't really have that. They don't have a lot of land and property and an income, a yearly income like some of these society gals have.
They have their beauty, though.
They have their beauty and their charm, which they have.
Which is
abundantly, which is great.
Which is great. That is a good place to start.
Now, let's talk at this point. I think it's important before we move on to the other characters who are important here. The title, right? So the title is Pride and Prejudice. And it is a story of both of those things. Now, in this case, when we talk about Pride and Prejudice, we're talking about pride, I think, in the sense of the 7 deadly sins, like pride comes before the fall, not as we're going to be talking about later on when we talk about the movie. This is pride that the characters all of the characters have the fault, every single one of them, including the girls, have the fault of pride, being too proud to admit that they're wrong, too proud to ask for help, too proud to
say sorry.
Yeah. Some of the other characters are too proud to be gracious, too proud to be understanding. And then there's a lot of prejudice. There's this classicism, classism, not classicism. That's a style of architecture, Marco. Classism, and prejudice of almost like a caste system. And the Bennett girls are constantly kind of bumping their heads up against this glass ceiling where, yes, we invite you to our parties, but we actually, we don't actually want you to be part of our family. We don't like you that much. So it's something that every single character in this novel, and there are many of them, is saddled with, burdened with pride, their own pride, the pride of others, and their own prejudices and the prejudices of others. And every single person is struggling with that. So it's such a wonderful title, is what I'm getting at. So then we have other characters. We have the Bingleys. We have Mr. Charles Bingley, who has a sister who's kind of snotty. Jane has kind of got a thing for Charles. We have Mr. Wickham, and Mr. Darcy. So there's all these young women, and then there's also these young men, because again, this is the age where people are pairing off. Mr. Darcy is kind of, seems he's a young guy. He's a young guy who seems like an old stodgy guy.
He's very aloof is the word that
Yes.
you constantly see about Mr. Darcy. And he and Elizabeth had some sort of like interaction that didn't go very well.
It was a bad first impression on
Yeah.
both of their parts. And he has a sister who's, so he and his best friend, he's best friends with Mr. Bingley. Each of them have a sister. Then we have Lady Catherine de Bourgh, who is who has a daughter, I think. Anyway, so all of these characters where you have the generally, the actual wealthy, the Darcys, the Binghams, Lady Catherine de Bourgh. You have this kind of, we're not sure, are we middle class or what are we exactly? You think we're poor, but then there's actual real poor people, the Bennets. And then you have Mr. Wickham, who is a soldier. He is also like he's not wealthy. His father served on the estate of the Darcys, if I remember correctly. So everybody's, all as many classes as there are at the time they're in this book. And it's all about how these girls, are trying to navigate more than trying to find a husband. Although that's kind of what it says in the book. That's how the book begins, I think, about how the girls have to find a husband and the men have to find a wife. The young men and the young women. And but more than that, they're trying to find their place in this society that treats them like property, but also pretends like they're actual people.
Right.
And what does it feel like when you are a young woman in such a system? Which is just brilliant.
They want partners. That's the thing. They want a partner, and that's different. It's romantic love, which isn't, and that notion is considered like, if you're poor, like, why would you even think you're allowed that? I mean, that's something that somebody else gets to. And so, yeah, it does. It's just who gets to be happy, who gets to pursue things, and it's about what you say to people and the integrity of your words and your actions. It's just kind of wonderful. I mean, and yeah, look, everyone's talked about Pride and Prejudice. I mean, we all kind of that it's the story. We have Jane and Elizabeth and who they partner up with in the end, and we always are like, once Elizabeth, and we spoil the details, by the way. The way that she winds up with Mr. Darcy, you're just so rewarded with that because you've just been on this journey with them. Like, they really do care about each other and love each other.
Yes. And respect each other.
Respect each other so much. And you're like, please have 1 million babies so that can be spread out and over the next, over your descendants. I mean, it's wonderful. It's.
But we also, yes, it is. And we also have the whole thing with Mr. Wickham. So as we said, Elizabeth and Mr. Darcy get off to not a good start. Definitely not on the right foot. He's kind of a jerk and she's kind of a jerk. And, they got each other at a bad time.
They're both proud.
They're both proud. Their pride very much gets in their way and blinds them to how right they are for each other. And that makes a situation that's ripe for this interloper, Mr. Wickham, to swoop in. And he's dashing and handsome. He's a soldier. And he's lavishing attention. He's love bombing Elizabeth, right? As we would say today. And she's kind of falling for him. She's like, oh, he's not such a stick in the mud like Mr. Darcy. And you see how young women are vulnerable to people like this who are definitely have an agenda, as we learn later. And Mr. Darcy really doesn't seem to like Mr. Wickham. And at first, Elizabeth's like, oh, all the more reason he's attractive. But of course, then he turns out to be a real terrible person who does some pretty serious damage to the Bennet family, the entire family, jeopardizing the future of everybody. And the solution is, the way it's resolved, and Mr. Darcy swoops in and saves the day. The way it's resolved is, I think, to a 21st century um, woman's point of view, or, whoever's reading it in the 21st century, you do feel like, what do you mean? Lydia has to be married to this guy now? Like, she needs to get away from him. But that was not something that would have ruined Lydia's life. Like that, unfortunately, the solution for her to be married to Mr. Wickham for the rest of her days, for them to be tied together, is the best possible outcome, not just for the family and their standing, but for Lydia. And she's such a flibbertigibbet that she never has any reason to believe that she's in any kind of a bad situation. Like, she never realizes.
Yeah, it's kind of good.
Yeah.
She's not all that tethered to reality.
And there have been, a number of adaptations of Pride and Prejudice. It's a story that they're universal themes and timeless themes. And so it's something that you see adapted and has popularity all over the globe. How many adaptations do we have here? We all, of course, you and I, for us, it's always going to be Colin Firth.
Forever and ever. Amen.
Forever and ever and ever. But let me see, how many adaptations are there? Let's see. The first one was done in 1938. It no longer exists. It was a television broadcast in 1938 produced by the BBC.
Ooh.
There's the version with Laurence Olivier for a long time was the Mr. Darcy.
Mm-hmm.
And he starred in the film with Greer Garson as Elizabeth. And that was based on a stage version that was in 1940. Of course, there's the Keira Knightley, Matthew McFadden one, which is good. But, I'm
fine.
sorry, but after
It's
after Jennifer Elliott and Colin Firth,
we're going to play a clip of them and you'll know what we're talking
we'll
about.
Play that one. There's another one in 1980 that was done by the BBC. I kind of remember that one. I think it was also for television.
I think it was on PBS as well.
Yeah, there's different, taking different parts of the story and adapting it into, there was a musical, of course. Just on and on and on. Web series, and there's a Brazilian soap opera based on Pride and Prejudice. And then the movie that we're going to talk about today. But before we should we play the Colin Firth now?
Yes, please.
Let's play it now, because
you're
for you and I, it's always going to be this version.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. 30s.
Mr. Darcy, I can go no longer without thanking you for your kindness to my poor sister. Ever since I have known of it, I have been most anxious to tell you how grateful I am for my family and for myself. You must not blame my aunt for telling me. Lydia betrayed it first, and then I couldn't rest till I knew everything. I know what trouble and what mortification it must have cost you. Please let me say this. Please allow me to thank you on behalf of all my family, since they don't know to whom they are indebted.
If you will thank me, let it be for yourself alone. Your family owes me nothing. Much as I respect them, I believe I thought only of you. You are too generous to trifle with me. If your feelings are what they were last April, tell me so at once. My affections and wishes are unchanged. But one word from you will silence me on this subject forever.
Oh, my feelings. My feelings are... I'm ashamed to remember what I said then. My feelings are so different. In fact, they are quite the opposite.
Lady Catherine told me of her meeting with you. I may say that her disclosure had quite the opposite effect to the one she intended. It taught me to hope as I'd scarcely ever allowed myself to hope before. I knew that had you absolutely decided against me, you would have acknowledged it openly.
Yes, you know enough of my frankness to believe me capable of that. After abusing you so abominably to your face, I could have no scruple in abusing you to all your relations.
What did you say of me that I did not deserve? My behavior to you at the time was unpardonable. I can hardly think of it without abhorrence. Your reproof I shall never forget. Had you behaved in a more gentlemanlike manner, you know not how those words have tortured me.
Not the smallest idea of their ever being taken in such a way.
I can easily believe it. You thought me devoid of every proper feeling. I'm sure you did. The turn of your countenance I shall never forget. You said that I could not have addressed you in any possible way that would induce you to accept me.
Oh, do not repeat what I said then.
No, I've been a selfish being all my life. As a child, I was given good principles, but was left to follow them in pride and conceit. And such I might still have been, but for you. Dearest, loveliest Elizabeth.
I have something in my eye.
I normally don't make clips this long, but this is like we
Where
needed
do you cut it? You can't.
You can't. And I love one of the responses we got was somebody said, was she running up that mountain before because she's breathing so heavy? And I'm like, no, it's Colin's sexiness.
And also her dress is like, you have no idea.
Yes, exactly. I'm cinched to my life here with whalebone. It's, I mean, come on. Like,
it's so good.
I'm only human.
And I love, I just want to say, we just touched on some of the adaptations.
Right,
There's so many other, like, fan fiction kind of things. There's a whole series of books about the story from Mr. Darcy's point of view. What I love about that scene in particular, and just that relationship is like, and this is such an important lesson that people seem loath to learn today. It's okay to be wrong about people. The only reason they end up together, that they love each other so much, and the only reason that they're to overcome their pride and get together, they both have to, and both of them have to admit that they were wrong about the other person.
Yeah, you're right. Yet first impressions are not always correct.
No.
And when we meet people, we don't think that we're being judgmental.
Our prejudice.
We bring our prejudice with us, our view of the world. And how many times have you been wrong about people? I countless times. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I might watch this again tonight.
It's so good. It's just what we need right now. That's all I'm saying.
That's all I'm saying.
Just the people who can get over their pride and their prejudice.
Right?
And be together. Yeah. Oh, so good. So good. I mean, you could see why people just love it and read it. And the other thing about Jane Austen is you can read and read and reread and you see something different every single time. Some new twist on a phrase, some new barb that you missed that somebody loved it. It's just, it's such a classic. And it's just staggering to think that she died, living in a tiny little series of rooms. She could barely walk from one room to the other.
She couldn't see.
Lucky that she could go. She couldn't see out the window.
Right. Her eyesight had diminished so much. It was like they were looking at her. I think it was a year or two ago, they took her old glasses and just tried to see the power of them. And it was like, because I'm blind as a bat, I'm always interested in these things. But she was like, it was like plus 175 lens. And then by the time she died, it was like plus 5 plus whatever. So it was like, it dramatically dropped on top of all the physical ills that she had. I mean, she might have died of arsenic poisoning, like I said. They're not, they didn't have, coroners that could give you an accurate, and it's just, living in the 19th century, it's.
No.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. And she's buried in Winchester Cathedral. When she dies 18th of July, 1817, again, at the age of 41. Her brother, I think, because he was in the clergy, he arranged for her to be buried at Winchester Cathedral. There's a beautiful black granite marker. And it's, I want to see if I can read some of this. I just think it's so beautiful. Although you have to remember, so this is kind of at the time, written at the time. It says, in memory of Jane Austen, youngest daughter of the late Reverend George Austen. And it says a little bit about who he was. And it says, the benevolence of her heart, the sweetness of her temper, and the extraordinary endowments of her mind. That's as close as they get to saying that she was a writer. Mm-hmm. Obtained the regard of all who knew her, and the warmest love of her intimate connections. Their grief is in proportion to their affection. They know their loss to be irreparable, but in their deepest affliction, they are consoled by a firm, though humble hope that her charity, devotion, faith, and purity have rendered her soul acceptable in the fight of her Redeemer.
Aw.
I know. And it's said that today, most people who come to Winchester Cathedral come to see the grave of Jane Austen more than they even come to see the cathedral, although it is a fine cathedral. And there's a story about one of the vergers of the sort of like the keeper of the cathedral some years after her death, saying, like, who is this Jane Austen everybody keeps asking about? Because everybody was coming to see her final resting place as she became more and more famous after her death, and her name finally became attached to her works.
Mm-hmm.
Just such if everything on that marker is true. But, a social critic on par with any of the finest in history, Mark Twain or indeed Oscar Wilde, as we talked about.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe because of all her moving up and down the social ladder, that she got to see all these different characters and the way that their that system, what it did to people, is what makes her writing so enduring and so relevant today. I mean, it's still really super relevant. Yeah. Super relevant. You think about today, in the age we have of social media and everybody trying to create this image of themselves for others, and there is a class system there, and there are racial, prejudices inherent in that system, and just really so genius.
Yeah.
I mean, what else can you say? So we're going to look today at a very fun adaptation.
Yes, we are.
This very important work, Pride and Prejudice. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be talking about 2022's Fire Island. I think we have a clip of we have the trailer, yes?
We'll play the trailer right now.
Oh,
yes.
Great. Okay, cool.
Get on the boat! Stupid bitch Noah every year.
Oh, I made it, didn't I?
This week is sacred. We're going to Fire Island.
And this is why straight people hate us.
And also heteronormativity, Judeo-Christian pathology, anal.
For whatever reason, call it magic, time sort of works differently here.
Finally, my girls have arrived!
And that is our makeshift little family. We all met 10 years ago working at the same cursed brunch spot.
Bottomless mimosas, bitches!
Jackie Chan, hey, you gonna refill your bud?
can't believe you talked me into this again. I come here, I just feel terminally alone. Oh, are you all right? It's fine. It happens all the time.
Do you want some whiskey? It would help with your knees. You trust me, I'm a doctor.
Do they have a house on the beach? Bro, we can't go over there. We are literal trash.
Guys, excuse me? I think you may have the wrong house.
Have you seen the way they're drinking? They're clearly using us for free liquor.
Will, promise me you'll try to have a good time.
Do not let these people think that they are better than us, because at the end of
Never mind.
okay, guys like that are ruining this island.
Play harsh, Ty.
I have never met somebody who has made it so clear that they think they're so superior than everybody else.
I don't think I'm better than you.
You think that if you're vulnerable for just 1 second, that it's all gonna come crashing down.
Oh my God, my baby's drowning!
I don't think I want to be implicated in this.
DJ, stick it in!
All you guys, you're like all I have. We're family. That means something to me.
What are we gonna like hug and wrap this up? How does this end?
Why don't we just get up and dance?
The defense is wrong! My biological clock is ticking like this!
Penelope Cruz.
Oh, bitch, who is this?
Yay!
Yeah, this is for adults, by the way. So,
Yeah. Not a family watch.
depending on your family, of course.
Depending on
But
your family. If it's your chosen adult family, then yeah, go for it.
I wanted to start off with the person who wrote the script is Joel Kim Booster, and he was just on. I don't know if you watched Love Hotel, which is on.
No.
Oh my God. They took 4 Real Housewives and they put them in a hotel and then set them up on dates. And Joel Kim Booster was the host. I don't like the dating shows. I don't watch any of them because I just don't like dating in general. I loved it. And he's very, very funny. And so let me give you just a bit
He's also.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Oh. Never mind.
Let me give you his bio. So he starts off really interesting. He was born February 29th, leap day.
Oh, it's a leap year baby.
Leap year baby, 1988. He was born in South Korea and his name was Kim Junim in Jeju Island. I'm so sorry if I'm saying anything incorrectly. He was adopted by an American couple as a baby. And then he was raised in Plainfield, Illinois, in a very conservative family where he was the only Asian person, and he was homeschooled until he was 16, and then he went to high school at 16. And that's when he learned about, wow, everything I learned when I was growing up. He also realized at a pretty young age that he was gay. Mm-hmm. And his family responded by kicking him out of the house. And we were talking about couch surfing. Like he lived in different friends' homes. He did go to school. He went to Millikan University. He is a proud member of the Democratic Socialists of America. He moves to New York and he gets into the comedy scene. And Conan O'Brien notices him. And if you look at his list of credits, it's ridiculous. I'm like, why is he hosting Love Hotel? He must really love reality TV.
Yeah, exactly.
Because there is no other reason. He is super, super talented. He's in shows
Very
like
smart,
Big.
very talented.
He's in a Big Mouth, which I've watched in the past, which I love. There's the other 2, Shrill, Search Party. He's done a ton of writing. He's done a ton of acting. So he has taken this material. And I also want to talk about, if you're cool with it, a little bit just about Fire Island and the history there. Because I grew up on Long Island, but I've been to Fire Island. It's like connected to Long Island. And so if those of you that don't know, in case you don't know, it is a famously gay place to go. It is an island where they have a lesbian section and a gay section, a gay male section. Famously, that's the way it is. And it started about 100 years ago that the theatrical community in New York City, when you got really hot, you go to the beach. And so people go to Jersey or they go to Brooklyn, they go to Coney Island or they go to Reese Park, or you go to Fire Island, which is where they went. There was no electricity at the time. It was very, very rustic. It also was, to be clear, very white. And Long Island has its own, like I said, I'm from there, their own history about racial politics and things like that. But it's a place where you see gorgeous mansions and you see more rustic things going on. You see homes where there's like 20 people renting rooms and staying there, and then you see people who live very well. If they have their huge mansion and like one or two people live there. It's and the gay lifestyle is that they talk about, like, we have a cast of people that show up at the island, and they talk about this is great. You get there on a ferry, and as the men are going on a ferry, and it's a group of men, and they have Margaret Choate, yay, who's their friend who owns a home there, but they're talking about, okay, well, there's this class system. First of all, you have money, and then there's your looks, there's your body, there's the way you
and what color you are,
what race you are, how tall you are, how thin you are, do you work out or not work out? There's all these things, and they list it like no femmes, so nobody with any kind of feminine kind of, no fatty, no femmes, no fatties, no, like there's this whole, it's dating for everybody, there's competition. But also it's summer. So everywhere you go, people are wearing short shorts or budgie smugglers. I mean, it's kind of this bacchanal thing. Nightclubs are open all night. People will drink all day and then go. It's beautiful. It's fun. A lot of hearts get broken too. And and also straights go there too. I've been there many times. I mean, but it is known as sort of this gay mecca for East Coast New York people. And you're lucky if you know somebody that has a house and you can get in there, or you're fortunate enough to be able to rent something on your own. So we have this group of friends, and Joel Kim Booster, who not only wrote this movie, but he stars in it with his friend Bowen Yang. And so they're going along with their friends, and their friends are of different races and different body types. And even unfortunately in the story, I figured it out by the end. I'm like, one of their friends, the only one that's African American, and a very large guy, and he gets like 3 lines in the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's still sort of, the whole idea is like the thin, pretty ones, young, thin, pretty ones, tend to get the most attention. But they're going to this island. And I love this part. They meet in Williamsburg at a brunch spot where I loved. Like, and they have these horrible customers. I live in Brooklyn. I know it very, very well. But that's how they all met, including Margaret Cho. And then Margaret Cho, she got her money it was a lawsuit that she won. And she buys this gorgeous house, I think in the Cherry Bay. Is that what it's called? I'm sorry.
Cherry Grove.
Cherry Grove. Thank you. Sorry.
Well, it's a to you and I, we would love this house.
Yes.
It's a beautiful house. But in terms of Fire Island society, she lives on the shabby side of Fire Island. Yeah. It's a shabbier home. And but she's kind of ensconced there. So let's talk about, we have the tie-ins with our source material, Pride and Prejudice. So our 2 main characters are Joel Kim Booster as Noah, Bowen Yang as Howie. That's our Elizabeth and Jane, the 2 tight sisters, the oldest of the Bennett girls, that those are the 2 closest. Then we have Margaret Cho, who is kind of both the parents. She's both Mr. and Mrs. Darcy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she's a little bit checked out. She's also kind of a flibberty gibbet. She's not as pushy busybody as Mrs. Bennett is.
Mm-hmm.
A bit, but not that much. Not to the degree of a Mrs. Bennett. But so she's our stand-in for both, and so she's welcoming. We get the idea that she welcomes this group of who she considers her children. Again, this is the chosen family, and they're all kind of siblings. The men are all kind of siblings in this chosen family, and they flock home to Fire Island to their quote unquote mom, who is Margaret Cho, every summer, and that's their thing that they do every summer. And then we have let's see, I want to get all the guys. We have Matt Rogers and what is your name? Matt Rogers and Tomas Matos.
Mm-hmm.
They're Lydia and Kitty.
Yes.
The 2 youngest, who are the kind of, again, frivolous, flighty, shallow, little Vane. That's them too.
Mhm.
And then we have Tori and Miller as Max. That's the awkward middle child, right?
Mhm.
So, um, and then we have some other characters. Then we've got our Mr. Darcy is played by Conrad Micramora. He's Will. Mr. Darcy's first name is Fitzwilliam. We have Charles Bingley is Charlie.
Mhm.
And where is he on here?
James
He
Scully.
is James Scully. We have Zane Phillips plays Dex, who is our Mr. Wickham,
Mhm.
the bad Mr.
The
Wickham.
baddie.
I forgot about John Roberts in this. John Roberts is in it. So, and then each of the kind of echelons of society have their group of, people who occupy that world. Again, we have a double meaning of the title, Pride. Well, it's called Fire Island, but it's very much Pride and Prejudice adaptation, and we're playing with the double meaning. Pride, like Jane Austen meant it in terms of like pride, the deadly sin of pride,
Mhm.
but also pride. Like it's Pride Month, and yay Pride, Rainbow Pride, and prejudice is not. It's prejudice in a double meaning again because it's prejudice in terms of class, the same way that Austen meant it, but it's also prejudice in terms of race,
Mhm.
uh, the kind of prejudice that we have in contemporary American society.
Mhm.
So it is the kind of the prejudice that Jane Austen talked about, but it's other stuff too.
Mhm.
So, gosh,
I know where to begin.
where to begin?
I mean
It's beautifully cast,
yes.
wonderful choices for every. I love the snarky, mean people that are in Will and Charlie's house, the fancy house.
Beautiful mansion that they're
Chrome and
in.
glass and stone, like this gorgeous mansion on the beach, occupied by very snarky, very snotty, judgy men and it's all men. It's all men and Margaret Cho, and then there's another surprise lady at the end, and we'll get to her later on.
Mhm.
And the wardrobe is fantastic. I love Margaret Cho with the wicker and the boho vibe and all the house plants.
How much do you wanna hang out with her?
I want that house.
I want that house, but I definitely wanna hang out with her. I wanna just the whole thing.
She's so fun.
And she tells them, I'm unfortunately, much like Jane Austen, with her financial up and down, she's like, "Look, I've run out of money. I'm gonna have to sell this house. So unfortunately, this is our last summer here." So that sort of adds to the drama of, well, how do we get back here? Maybe if we find somebody else, they'll take us in. So they're out socializing and meeting people. It's part of it.
So
I mean,
it's and so they're at this kind of. They don't realize when they show up that that this is actually a critical moment in all of their lives, that's what they're kind of showing up for. Just like in the book, the stakes are, the Bennett girls, the two eldest Bennett girls have to get married. Like, again, tick tock. Now is the time, ladies, because otherwise you're going to end up an old maid like Jane Austen. And I'm like, oh, nobody wants that. And so for them, that's kind of like the time crunch, high stakes things is that they're getting older and they're gonna age out of being able to marry anytime. Similarly, these men show up, and now their access to this, gay, what's the word, tradition and culture, cultural, what's the word I'm looking for? It's Fire Island, that they have had access to this for so many years, and they didn't realize that this was going to be the very, very last time. They didn't realize how much they were going to have to make it count.
right.
So, so the stakes are very similar in that way. And just like in the novel, Noah, who's Elizabeth, Noah overhears Mr. Darcy, will be kind of a jerk. They meet each other at a point where they're not either of them at their best. And they both make snap judgments about each other.
Should we play the first clip?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's I'm a Doctor.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we don't have a ton of clips today. I just didn't have them available, but we need to play you something so that you can get an idea of this movie, and this is a good one to start with.
Okay, here we go.
Okay, somebody else has to go and get the drinks. What are we looking at?
The Heron found that guy's Instagram.
Okay, that's frightening.
I hope he's cool, though, because his friend turned out to be kind of a dud.
Private Instagram? It's like, what's he hiding?
We know his name is Charlie, and he's got a dog emoji and a plant emoji and a stethoscope emoji. What a riddle.
Okay, we're gonna have to solve that later because looks like they're leaving. What are you doing? Listen, trust me.
That he was cute.
It's fine. No, it's fine. What is your f***ing problem?
Whoa, are you all right? It's fine. It happens all the time.
Does it really? Must have very strong bones.
Just my knees, I guess. Oh God, that does not sound right. Sorry.
Were you guys going? Because we were gonna catch the sunset.
So weird. We were too.
Oh, great. I'm Charlie, by the way.
We know.
What?
Never mind. Just keep walking.
Do you want some whiskey? It would help with your knees. You can trust me, I'm a doctor.
So the thing about Pride and Prejudice is, I know it's so funny. The thing about Pride and Prejudice is, as these two Bennett girls, the two eldest Bennett girls, are now like set with this task of finding a husband, there's a whole set of rituals that goes into that. A whole set of like, you go to the ball and you do this particular dance, and then you have this, you go visiting for it, and that's a whole ritual of the way that you greet people and sit and have tea and blah blah blah. And it's all very much codified. Like, this is the way that you do it. This is the way that girls find husbands and get married. In a similar way with the Fire Island, we're introduced to like, these are there's the underwear party, there's the this, there's the that. There are these various rituals. And in Pride and Prejudice, the Bennett girls kind of have their own family stuff that they do, their own family rituals too, that they've been doing since the girls were little, and now the girls are kind of growing up, and so these are kind of the last times they're going to be doing those things. In Fire Island here, we have this. I love this scene where they all go to see the sunset.
I mean, and it's beautiful. It's glorious. And they're having super fun with it. And then, of course, like, so we saw that was basically our Jane meeting her Mr. Bingley. But it's so when they get to the sunset, it's two different groups. And there's the fun group, basically, that we know that with Jane and Elizabeth. And then there's a little more of the stiffs over there that have the real money. And they don't prance out loud or whatever. They're looking down upon them, but they say, oh, well, do you want to come back to our place and go for drinks? And they're like, yeah, we do. And they go to the house, and it's like, they're made to feel, oh, they're just here for the liquor. They're made to feel like, oh, you're the poors that are coming in to like enjoy this. And yeah, there's a lot of like body shaming and, money shaming. And it's, this is not a very welcoming group. And so they all have different reactions to it. But I don't know. I mean, that house is
You
just
brought
incredible.
the house is jaw-dropping. But you bring up a really good point, which is that, when you're reading Pride and Prejudice, the reader, and I gotta think this had to be the case even then, to an audience who's reading it at the time where your Mr. Darcy's, your Mr. Bingley's, like, this is what everybody's aspiring to be. But the Bennets are the fun ones.
Yes. It's like Titanic. They're doing the jig in the basement or whatever the hell I'm talking about. Yes, that's,
The Bennets are the ones you want to hang with.
Yeah.
And so this is very that. So, the Noah and what's the other one? Howie and, all of those guys.
Right.
Those are the ones they're the fun ones. So, class and status does not equal value or worth.
Right.
It's and that's the same. It's precisely the message of Pride and Prejudice, just told in a really awesome, updated way.
And another update they make is that it's that one of the crew, and it's Matt Rogers, who plays Luke, who's Lydia, hooks up with somebody, and then that person films their intimate moment, and as it's revenge porn.
It's revenge porn, yeah. So instead of so in Pride and Prejudice, again, we have Mr. Wickham, who's that soldier. He's the dashing guy that Mr. Darcy just does not like, and Elizabeth's like, haha, oh hello, and he's love bombing her, right? And then so he's love bombing Elizabeth, and then out of nowhere in the book, you're like, bruh, it's the record scratch moment. Like wait, what? Huh? See, Mr. Wickham in the book is really going for Elizabeth. Like he's really going after her. And then the next thing we know, he has eloped with Lydia. He's run off with Lydia, who's a little too young to get married.
Like 15 or something.
Yeah. A little, you know, like
for the time.
We could maybe kind of try to spin this, but like it's a little nah. But you're like, well, Lydia? Wait a minute, Lydia? What? What are we talking about? He didn't even look at Lydia. And then, but again, when you read it again and again and again, you start to see the little breadcrumbs that Jane Austen has given us that this is what's going to happen. So Dex in the movie is our Mr. Wickham. And at first he is like really going for Noah. He's like swoops in and he's charming and he's funny and he's flirting with Noah. And they even have like a little moment.
Rescues him a couple of times.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden, Margaret Cho is on her phone and she shrieks. And it turns out that Dex has seduced, what's his name? I keep wanting to call him Matt Rogers. Luke. He's seduced Luke and filmed it when he was wasted and put it on the internet. And there it is for everybody to see. And just like in Pride and Prejudice, when Wickham elopes with Lydia, again, this really has the potential in the book to absolutely destroy the entire family. That their youngest daughter would be so immoral as to run off with a soldier, elope with a soldier, which just meant sleep with, at the time. And while they're trying to marry off these two elder daughters and present them as like, at least they're moral, you can't really argue that anymore. So then there goes anybody else's chances of getting married. And now what's going to happen? And Mr. Darcy swoops in and forces, because he has some power, he forces them to actually get married. And now they're going to actually be married for the rest of their lives. He's got to, quote unquote, make an honest woman out of Lydia. And so then the family is saved. So similarly here, Will, who is our Mr. Darcy, Will is a high-powered attorney for a nonprofit. And he swoops in and throws a bunch of legalese at Dex to very strongly persuade him to take the video down and disappear it from the internet, which he does.
And I like it that they throw his phone into the pool, as dramatically. It goes, they're waterproof now. Shh.
Yeah.
It's
very witty. It's so funny. Yeah. It's a very worthy adaptation. I love, it really does capture all of the best things about the source material. The relationships, the family relationships are straight out of the book, but they're updated for the 21st century in a way that I totally buy and 100% believe and want to pour the drinks for them. What can we say? And the ending is just as romantic as Pride and Prejudice. No, Sense and Sensibility is the one that ends with the double wedding. I think Pride and Prejudice, Jane gets married first and then Elizabeth gets married, right?
Yeah.
So, at the end, they have the Noah and Howie have their happy endings, but they're very contemporary happy endings. It's not like, oh, we get married and now we have property and we live happily ever after. It's a 21st century, they both have a really nice relationship that is going somewhere.
And they play Last Dance by Donna Summer.
And I am crying.
And I sob because I freaking love Donna Summer. And then I'm like, oh, she's dead. Oh, and then that just always gets to me. And then it's just like, because it does remind me of summer and it reminds me of good times. And yeah.
And just like in the book, there's a moment, like there's a part of the book where it seems like we're led to believe that Mr. Bingley, who's the one that Jane is in love with, Mr. Bingley seems like a really sweet guy. Like he's doesn't seem to have any faults. He's just as pure and lovely as Jane is. And wouldn't they be perfect together? And just when you think they're going to get together, it gets swooped in that he's like engaged. He has a prior engagement to somebody else. And you're like, oh no, this sucks for Jane. And everybody's feeling bad for Jane. And Jane, I think, even gets sick. It's like a whole thing. And then, but then ultimately, he can't deny his love for Jane, and they end up together. And then the way that and then Elizabeth and Mr. Darcy have their beautiful moment, which we just saw a little bit ago. And the way that they do this in the movie of Fire Island, again, I am crying.
Sob.
I am sobbing. I'm literally sobbing, and I was like, "Is that Robin Bird?"
But it's really funny. It's very, very funny. It's super
Very well
enjoyable. It's filmed on location in Fire Island. It makes you want to go there and hang out with
Sure
these
does.
people. It's just it's A+ for me. It's just
I love it.
yeah.
I love all the cameos again. Robin Bird, Peppermint is wonderful. I love that whole scene where Will does the dancing, and it's so
That's our
silly
closing
and-
clip.
Oh, I love it. I'm really, really impressed by this movie. All the way around. Great cast, superb writing. I love the way that they interpreted the themes. The setting is awesome. Music is great. This no notes.
Yeah.
Just loved it.
Yeah.
Loved every moment of it from start to finish. Like it opens and you're like, oh, what's gonna happen? Like it's instantly exciting.
They're on the ferry going there, and it's like, I'm going along with you. Thank you. This
love
is
it.
awesome. Yeah.
I love that we didn't. I liked that choice too, to open it like that. Like open it where bang, we're going.
Yes.
And then not a lot of preamble about like, oh, we're running to the airport to catch the
We're
train.
packing
and,
our
oh,
bags and
gotta say goodbye to my cats. Like
yeah. Just
we just
right.
let's just go. Let's just get on the ferry and we're heading out there. And they're already having anxiety about like, oh, we're gonna remember to do this and we gotta remember to do that. Like all the rituals, just like the Bennett girls on their way to the ball in the carriage, right? Don't forget the underwear party and and they're already having anxiety about all of the classism and racism.
On the ferry, there's like a section of guys that immediately just take their shirts off at some point. Like, oh God. Yep.
Here we go.
6-pack abs over there. Like, I got to compete with that. That's dating. Yeah.
I saw a clip that where they were talking about how everybody was doing push-ups between takes all the time.
I would too. I mean, I'm eating egg whites and broccoli and yeah.
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 I'm sure there was a lot of keto breath.
I'm sure farting. Yep. But they look great.
They look amazing.
They look beautiful. It's an A+.
It's an A+. Absolutely delightful.
And I
Check
can't
it
decide.
out.
And it's a tie for me this week. I can't even.
I mean, of course it's Jane Austen, right?
Well,
And
yeah,
so,
yeah.
and it's Pride and Prejudice. But again, like there was nothing about this movie, not one moment where I was like, nah. Everything. Like, look at this kitchen. Look at that outfit. Listen to that song.
That dance off, and
the dance off is.
I said, we'll play that at the end. Yeah.
But I just and it had voiceover, which I normally hate.
She normally doesn't like that.
Didn't hate it at all. I thought it was so well done. It served a really good purpose in the film, because it's just like with Clueless. It's not a voiceover that is all that expositional in terms of like, I met Noah when we were, there's part of that. Part of it is that. But what the voiceover is the main character realizing like, oh, wait a minute, I was super wrong about this person. Oh, I really made a mistake. Am I in love with Josh? Is that the line from Clueless? So it's that kind of voiceover, which works so well with this story. I love this movie. I had never heard of it. I didn't know about it.
I saw it when it came out a few years ago, and I was saying to her off the air, I'm like, I thought it was cute. I mean, I remember really enjoying it. I just thought, but I think just what's going on in the world right now, if you need a nice diversion, this will definitely help you out. I mean,
and it has real. It's a diversion, but it's not like candy. It's not. It has real themes. Yeah. People learning important lessons and finding love in a believable way. I'm really, really happy with this film. I really, really loved it. So yeah, it is a little bit of a tie for me too. I don't know how they could have done it better.
Yeah.
It's so good.
I know he was, let me check. He was nominated for, it did multiple accolades. I mean, the GLAAD Media Awards and Gotham Awards, and Mill Valley Film Festival. I mean, just one after the other, and much of it is for the screenplay by Joel Kim Booster. So
it's so well written. It's extremely well written. That it is. There has to be just like with Jane Austen. Yes, there has to be a certain amount of exposition, but it never feels labored. It never feels, like screeching halt to the story while we explain what's going on and who's here and why they're here. And it's done in a really natural way that kind of keeps with the flow of the action. It flies by.
Mm-hmm.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Yeah. So kind of a tie for me too, I think. I'm going to give, yeah.
Yep.
Reread Pride and Prejudice and then watch this.
Yep.
So what are we doing next?
We didn't pick something.
Didn't quite decide, did we?
Why don't we decide on our own and then announce it? Because we did last week, we picked something and then we wound up not using it.
Out.
Yeah. So we're going to pick something, but please send us your suggestions. All those places I mentioned at the top of the show. Our email, once again, is bookversusmoviepodcast@gmail.com. And Margot, where can they find you?
You can find me online at coloniabook.com, and all my social media callouts are at She's Nacho Mama. And where can they find you?
You can find me at brooklynfitchick.com. I'm at Brooklyn Fitchick for Threads and Instagram. I'm at Brooklyn Margot for Blue Sky and TikTok. And at YouTube, I am at my name, Margot Donahue. Thank you all so much. We'll be back soon with a new episode. Enjoy the summer, everybody. Happy summer to all of you that celebrate.
And happy Pride.
Yes, most important. Let's play our clip.
Okay, here we go.
Have you ever done a dance-off before?
No.
Okay. Are you excited for the dance-off?
Yep.
Yes, I'm excited. Okay. DJ Next is going to put on some music, and you just, shake your groove thing. Right? Y'all ready to see it? DJ, stick it in. All right. Everybody get sexy now. To the beat. To the beat. Okay, Will. All right. Okay, get to the front. Let's see what you really got, honey. All right, Will, let's go. Get sexy. Sexy. Yes. Okay, somebody's been studying. Yeah. That's right. Think Paula Abdul. Yes. Okay. Not RoboCop, Paula Abdul. Oh, Will. Okay, the 90s. Just straight up the 90s. Okay? Yes, okay, West Side Story. In the 90s. Okay. Oh, Will. Okay. somebody. All right.